Yes, people, what's happening? Back again for another stream. Champions League week, guys. Europa League week. And let's be honest, for the English teams, Arsenal starting off tomorrow. Manchester United on Thursday, along with Tottenham as well on Thursday. And I think you'd have to say, for all three teams, it is a must. It is a must win for all three teams for me. Obviously the first legs. And all three English teams need to be taken a lead going back into the second leg, or at least not getting beat. And I believe, if especially in Tottenham's case, it could already be decided. But I think if Tottenham don't manage to overcome Bodo Glimt, I think it's safe to say that Ange Postecoglou will be sacked at the end of the season. And again, for me, if Ruben Amorim doesn't somehow navigate his way to the final of the Europa League and win it, for me, I believe Ruben Amorim has to be let go at the end of the season as well. But obviously, what we're talking about today, guys, is the Champions League semi-final between Arsenal and PSG. Obviously, first leg being at the Emirates. And to be honest with you, it's going to be a game where I think the favourites, for me are PSG. It might be for some people slightly Arsenal because they've beaten Real Madrid. But I would have to say PSG are the favourites. Going into the first leg as well, no Thomas Partey, in that midfield, which is crucial for Arsenal. Again, sending off the booking he got against Real Madrid was silly. And now he's missing a crucial semi-final against PSG. And with the midfield of Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, João Neves, they would need Thomas Partey to be patrolling that midfield. So, what I'm going to talk about the key matchups for me. And let's look no further than, for me, the key matchup is going to be Bukayo Saka versus Nuno Mendes. I think in terms of Arsenal's key player, you'd have to say it is Bukayo Saka. The one that's more likely to get a goal. The one that's more likely is going to be the go-to guy, really, And I think if Arsenal are to do anything in this game, I think Bukayo Saka is going to have a massive say in it, And to be fair to Saka, he has come back from injury, and he has looked okay, especially against Real Madrid in the second leg. I thought he was a massive threat to Real Madrid on the counter. And again, with Saka's, his running power, his decisiveness as well, I think that's going to be crucial in this semi-final at home. But for me, he's up against, arguably for me, the best left-back in the world right now in Nuno Mendes. And I think Nuno Mendes this season has gone to another level. There was talk about Nuno Mendes moving on. And obviously, being a Man United supporter, when I heard the links to Nuno Mendes, I'm not going to lie, I was getting very excited. And but I think realistically, that deal was never going to happen. And obviously, he's now signed a new contract at PSG. And this season, he's been unplayable at times. And I think if Saka's going to have any joy against him, he's going to need to be having the game of his life, really, I would say. Because Nuno Mendes, for me, is a massive threat going forwards. But defensively, with his tenacity and his pace, he's not going to be an easy defender to try and get past, If I'm looking at Saka's strengths, Saka's obviously very strong with the ball at his feet, He's very good, Saka, at using his body well in terms of having the ball in between, well, him with the ball at one side and the defender the other. He's very good at holding the player off, and he's gonna need to use a lot of that to try and outdo Nuno Mendes. And again, I think Nuno Mendes, for me, the combination he has on that left-hand side, whether it's with Bradley Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué coming out there, or even Dembele at times, he's going to be a massive threat on the overlap. And Yuri Timber, who you expect to play, is going to have to be watching for the overlapping runs. Or even Saka needs to be tracking back Nuno Mendes. So for me, that's going to be the key battle in the game. The other battles, for me as well, I think in midfield, you've arguably got the best combination there in terms of balance, in terms of being able to keep the ball, and being able to high press and win the ball back. And you've got Vitinha, who for me is one of the best midfielders in the world. You've got João Neves, who's come in, and he's slotted into this team easy, I would say. And then you've got Fabian Ruiz, who again offers the balance in terms of being left-footed, and obviously offers the height advantage as well. So he's a threat in the box. So I think if Arsenal were to have any joy in this game, the midfield that they're most probably going to play, which I can see, obviously we know Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, and I think they'll probably play. I'm going to probably say Jorginho in there, I would say. I was going to say Mikel Merino because he is actually a central midfield player. But I think he'll probably be deployed as a striker. And they'll probably go for the same team against Real Madrid, bar Thomas Partey. So I think whoever wins that midfield battle, of course, will get control of the game. And I think if PSG do dominate that midfield, which I think we should all expect them to, I think the front three, which is very fluid, of Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele, who's having a great season. And I think away from home, I think Bradley Barcola might start that game, I think, for sure. So I think, it's going to be a great game. And for me, who do I see winning the first leg? I think Arsenal at home. I don't see Arsenal getting blown away in the first leg, but I don't see them winning the game either, because I think PSG will dominate the game, just like they did against Liverpool. Sorry, guys, my bad. The game's at PSG's ground, at home, my bad. So I think at home, I think PSG win this game. I forgot, the second leg's at the Emirates. So I think first leg, I expect PSG to win this with that home crowd. And I would say that for Arsenal, if they can come out of there with a 1-0, or even better, a win or a 1-1, then I think Arsenal will fancy their chances at home. But I would say if PSG win this, by a couple of goals at home and put the tie to bed, then I think it's going to be an uphill task for Arsenal, especially them, even if they're at home with their crowd. And again, for Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, he's going to be under a lot of pressure, I believe. I know there's a section of the fan base that still believe in Arteta, but for me, he's into his 5th, 6th season, I think, at Arsenal now. And he's only got one trophy to show for that, which wasn't really his team. So for me, any other serious club, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG, if you was there for 5 seasons and not winning anything, the board would have pulled the plug already. So the fact that he's still there, again, is doesn't make any sense for me. And if he doesn't navigate his way to a final and win, then I think Arsenal, they have to pull the plug. I know Andrea Berta now is in charge, but to keep him in charge again, I don't see what the point will be. And for me, I can't see them winning the Champions League, because for me, they're going to have to overcome PSG, who I believe will get to the final. And then even if Arsenal do happen to get past PSG in a one-off game against Barca or Inter, can I see them overcoming them? Not really. But, again, get into the final, you're going to have to, you will definitely fancy your chances. But I think it being, against PSG in the semi-final, I think it's going to be one step too far for Arsenal for sure. How do I see both teams lining up? So if we start with Arsenal, again, there's no Thomas Partey. Obviously, Gabriel Magalhaes is out for the season. As I said, I think Arsenal's team is more or less going to be the same as what they done against what they put out against Real Madrid. So David Raya obviously will be in goal. The back four of Urian Timber at right back, and then it's going to be Saliba and Jakub Kiwior at centre back, who actually has come in for Gabriel and been very good. Left back obviously will be Lewis Skelly, who's had a great season, and I think his emergence into the first team has been, has been probably one of the success stories of the season. Obviously, England international now as well, so he thoroughly deserves, his accolades he's getting. And to be fair, he's a very good player. Obviously, he's a central midfielder by trade, but the way that Arteta plays, and even obviously Pep, Pep started this off. likes having midfielders at fullback. And to be fair, Lewis Skelly has slotted into there seamlessly. And again, it's been one of their best players this season. Midfield, again, is where it's going to be interesting because Declan Rice and obviously Captain Martin Odegaard are going to start. And alongside them, you know, they're either going to play Jorginho, Mikel Merino, who I think will play up top. So I think Jorginho is the likely one to come in there. Unless they do something unthinkable and put Zinchenko in there, obviously being left-footed, or play Lewis Skelly in there and put Zinchenko left-back. But I think if they put Zinchenko left-back, it's going to be problems for Arsenal because I think Dembele or Barcola or Doué or Kvaratskhelia, I mean, they got a fluid front three anyway. I think they'll have joy against Zinchenko if he was to play there. So I think they're going to play Jorginho for his experience away from home as well. So it'll be Jorginho, Declan Rice and Odegaard. And again, Odegaard can count himself very lucky to be starting in this game. I know he's the captain, but for me, I don't see why Ethan Nwaneri doesn't get more of a chance. Obviously, Nwaneri is definitely not going to start. I think the manager might think he's too inexperienced for this. But again, Lewis Skelly started at the Bernabeu. You know, so you could have argued the same thing. But I think Odegaard needs to have a good performance because I think if he doesn't and Arsenal go out, his future, I think, at the club might come into question. And as I've done the video before, for me, Ethan Nwaneri does deserve his flowers and does deserve to be starting more games for sure. And in the front three, for me, is going to be interesting. I think the fact that they're away from home, obviously, Bukayo Saka definitely starts on the right-hand side there. And I think because of the fact they're away from home and they're going to play more on the counter, I think Gabriel Martinelli will get the nod over Leandro Trossard, obviously more for his pace. And then Mikel Merino, obviously, as the false nine to drop into midfield to obviously overcrowd that midfield, which he's going to need to do. Because if Arsenal let that midfield of Vitinha, João Neves and Fabian Ruiz play, and then you got the likes of that fluid front three getting into the pockets, I think it's going to be a lot of problem for Arsenal. And I think that's why he's going to play Merino as the central striker, you know, and Trossard might find himself a bit hard done by that he's on the bench because I think his form recently has been quite decent. So, yeah, I think that's how they're going to line up. PSG, I think very straightforward how they're going to play. I think there's only probably one player that might be in question if he's going to start the game. It's between either or, really. But obviously, their team, for me, Donnarumma in goal. Again, there's no surprise there. Back four, you know, obviously, as I said, Nuno Mendes at left back. Achraf Hakimi, again, had a great season. And for me, the combination of Hakimi and Nuno Mendes at fullback is arguably the best pairing in world football right now. And both players in this system play high up the pitch, you know, and create an extra attacking outlet for PSG, you know. And when you've got them on the overlap, you know, it allows the front three, you know, to get into the pockets and just create, you know, and basically be a free spirit in the team, really, you know. And a lot of that is due to how Luis Enrique sets his fullbacks up to attack. So those two will be the fullbacks. Obviously, Marquinhos come back in the last game. Obviously, he's the captain and he'll be alongside William Pacho. And again, I think Pacho is underrated. You know, I think many people won't know much about Pacho. Obviously, left-footed centre-back, offers the balance to that back four. But even in Marquinhos' absence when they played up against, who was it in the quarter-final? Was it Borussia Dortmund they played? No, not Borussia Dortmund. But they played in the quarter-final. Can't remember now. You can't even play the quarter-final, but I think Marquinhos was missing. And to be fair, Pacho, you know, didn't have any problems there, really. You know, if anything, he seemed like more the leader in that backline with Beraldo. But he's a very good player. And him and Marquinhos, for me, complement each other well. And in the midfield three, we've spoken about already, Vitinha, João Neves and Fabian Ruiz. And the front three, again, because we know Dembele and Kvaratskhelia are both starting. And then it's going to be between Desiree Doué or Bradley Barcola. And I think the fact that they're at home, I think Doué might actually start this because they're at home. You know, I think if they're away from home in the first leg, Barcola might get the nod. But I think either one might start. You know, it could even be Barcola. But I think I'm going to say Doué might start, you know. But it could be, as I say, it could be Barcola. And as I said, it's going to be some interesting battles all over the pitch, you know. And it's going to be a game, you know, that I think the pressure is going to be on both teams, really, because the amount of money PSG have spent, you know, and they've got to a final before when they had the likes of Neymar. I don't think, no, Messi wasn't there. Mbappe, I think, might have been there. But Neymar definitely played in the final up against Bayern Munich. And obviously, they didn't get over the line there. And I think the amount of money they've spent, you know, the overhaul, obviously no Neymar no more, no Marco Verratti, no Messi, and obviously no Mbappe. And I think they've now created a team which, you know, which is, as you can see, is a lot better. So I think they're going to want to go, you know, to the final and one step further and win it. And I think they'll be giving their all. Obviously, the Liga is wrapped up for them already. And I think they actually got beat on the weekend, I believe, as well. But I think definitely they changed the majority of their 11. And they're going to go all out for this game. And as I said, I can see them winning the game at home, definitely. And I think, as I say, pressure's on both teams because Arteta needs to get a trophy. Obviously, Liverpool won the league yesterday. And now Arsenal realistically only have this this trophy to win, which, again, they're going to be up against it. And again, for PSG, you know, the amount of money they've spent, they're going to expect to at least get to the final. And then up against either Barca or Inter, they're going to have to put a show on and get that title, you know. So, yeah, guys, that's what I think. I think, for me, the winners are going to be PSG overall. I think for this tie, as I said, I'm going to go for a 1-0, you know. But, yeah, I'm going to go 1 or 2-0, I believe, PSG. I don't think PSG concede. But if Arsenal happen to come away from this tie with a 1-1 or even a 1-0, again, they're going to fancy their chances in the second leg at home. And yeah, it's gonna make for a great game. But yes, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel at GavGoesIn. And again, if you do enjoy my content, check out my previous content as well. And again, smash the like button if you enjoy the content. And again, smashing that like button helps the channel to reach more viewers. And as I said, we will be there for the semi-final. I'm going to be live straight after the semi-final tomorrow to give my match reaction. So again, make sure you put your notifications on and make sure you join me in my live chat as well and give me your questions and let me know what you think of the first leg, and let me know if you think if there's any talking points that both managers, you know, should have included in their lineup, you know, or whoever you think has played well. Yeah, make sure you interact and catch me tomorrow, guys, after the game. But big up yourselves. Take it easy.